Exactly. So, Joe, we were just talking about the most satisfying thing I did this weekend,
The
cleaning my
Pornhub stuff you told
garage.
me about earlier? Oh,
Cleaning
cleaning
my
your garage.
garage.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no, not
Yeah.
that. I don't give you details. I don't kiss and tell.
So did you get it clean?
Dude, it is the most satisfying thing to clean my garage. I let it go for 6 months and then it's got shit piled up everywhere, because the garage is kind of like the place where, you just you just run it, you got some boxes, the Amazon boxes and whatever. You just kind of throw them out there because, it's easier to avoid that way. And we don't keep our car in the garage. We do have a golf cart in there, but we don't keep our car in the garage.
Hmm.
And my wife, of course, my Jewish, ethnically Jewish wife, is over crazy Christmas decorations, right? And so
Cool.
they all had to go back in the garage into the storage boxes, and I was like, all right, I guess I got to clean the fucking garage. But it is such a satisfying thing to look out and see everything organized and clean, and it's really a satisfying thing, dude. It's good.
Well, probably when you go out there around 4 o'clock today, after your kids and wife have rampaged through there, you'll be going, okay, another thing on the honey-do list for
Dude,
next year.
it's a long fucking list. It's a
It
long
never
fucking
ends,
list.
dude.
Yeah.
I remember it never ends, man. But as my dad once told me, happy wife, happy life.
It is the truth. Well, yeah, less stress. That's good. That's good.
Takes a lot to get Brad into the happy column, it appears.
No, no, it's all good. I tell you, I'm pretty goddamn fortunate. I will say, I have a
Hell
lot of
yeah,
fun.
man.
Have a lot of fun with my wife. We do a lot of laughing and stupidness, and she's a consummate travel planner. So it's good. The markets are happy today.
Yeah, I was noticing that too. I saw, like every equity market in the world is up right now, except for one. Any guesses to which one's down?
I'm gonna say the U.S.
Russia.
Oh,
Everybody else is up. No,
good.
I mean everybody else is up. I mean they're off a little bit. There's no real pricing coming out. I just noticed that it was the only red number in the whole column of world stock indices, um, and you look at that and you see what BTC's up like 2.5 points, and ETH is up 6%, I think. I
5.71 right now. Yeah.
Curve was up like 30% this morning. Um, back up to like 65. I mean, there's definitely something in the wind.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
let's
not
see.
sure what.
Is there anything prominent that's red? I don't think so. Oh, a couple of stable coins are a little bit down. Everything else is green, 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 Joe.
Yeah.
Green, green,
So,
green.
I don't know if that's just
Zalika,
everyone kind of,
did
well,
Zalika? Why is that familiar, Zalika? What the fuck is Zalika? Up
I was in it.
46%.
Yeah, I was in it in 21 for a couple of weeks or months at some period.
What is it?
Um, I don't remember what it did, to be honest, at this
Let me
point.
see. A new blockchain platform that is designed to scale in an open, permissionless, distributed network securely. The core feature that makes it scalable is sharding, dividing the. Okay, hold on. Network into several smaller component networks called shards capable of processing transactions in parallel. Never heard of it. I mean, I've
Hmm.
heard of it, but I didn't ever take a look at it like that. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'd put it at this point in the watch category then with a move like that because, as we all know, usually there's a little give back
L1
after that.
metaverses, they call themselves. I don't know what the fuck that means. I'm always
Mother,
skeptical when I see corporate speak on a crypto
yeah.
project.
Well, anyone that's like name dropping metaverse right now, um, it's kind of like that was 6 months ago. I told you
Amen,
last week.
Eamon's ranting about Soul, not ranting negatively, positively. What's it at? Oh, up
It was up. Yeah.
22.46%. The man called it. If you weren't
And
listening
also,
to the Amen recommendations, you missed the fuck out.
yeah. And you know who else
I
jumped in there
missed
a
the
few
fuck
weeks
out.
ago was Shizzy. Shizzy jumped in a few weeks ago too on that one, if I remember correctly.
I wasn't going to
Um,
touch that shit.
yeah. I mean, I mean, I don't know about it, to be honest, and
A friend
doesn't mean I wouldn't trade it.
a friend whose analysis I have a good deal of respect for actually predicted this little pump right here about this time with a quick dump back below 15 for Bitcoin. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it kind of feels like summer of 2019 to me a little bit here.
Yeah.
Or what was the one after the pandemic tank? Wasn't there one like in the summer that was another one like up and down? It has that feeling of like a little rally.
Suck a few fuckers in before we tank this fucking thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I get that feeling, because I don't see anything out there that tells me anything that would make a turn on a dime like this, you know.
Shizzy said next week's CPI number is driving the markets. I think everyone sees the sales finally back at grocery stores. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if you mean by sales, but I'm still paying stupid fucking prices for shit at the grocery store. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, and as we also know, you're paying more and buying less quantity wise. So, as we adjust to that, I mean, I do expect that number to be good. You know, I guess everybody's tying everything to, you know, what the Fed's going to do. And, you know, and the fact that people talk about interest rate cuts to me is it's just not going to happen in the U.S. at this point. Maybe second half of next year if something goes wrong. But, you know, I'm one of those guys who thinks the U.S. is going to have somewhat of a soft landing. I think everybody else is going to have more difficulty. And at that, so I don't see why the Fed would be cutting at that point. You know, they'd be holding. Right. So, but, you know, look, we just got to adjust to back to the new normal, or the back to the future normal, or whatever we call it. But, you know, 6% is the historical number.
Yeah. So,
you know, you got to think, you know, these guys aren't 21. You know, they got that was the first half of their career. It was 6%. Yep. So they're all trying to get back to that number without destroying the economy. And, you know, I always keep forgetting the S&P, how it's off 20%, or it was off 20-ish% last year. And, you know, I didn't even really feel it. Right. I certainly felt the crypto off, though, that's for sure. Yeah, but the S&P 20%, I'm like, oh, only 20%, who cares?
Right.
But, you know, I feel like we're at that point, you know, when these things turn, the markets turn, it always turns. You don't really recognize the turn. You know, it's like a couple months later, you go, oh, it did turn. Right. So, you know, something's up. People are feeling good about something.
Eamon says, Back to the Future. Good stuff. Hey, Joe and Sean appeared on Shizzy's DeFi discussion show yesterday. I haven't gotten a chance to hear Joe's yet. Started it, but I haven't finished it. And listened to Sean's yesterday. Great job, Shizzy. Niblets as well with Joe. I don't know if you did a great job, but Joe said you did. So appreciate you guys doing that. I'm going to take a look, but everybody should go check out Shizzy's DeFi discussion show when you get a chance. It's on YouTube. Shizzy, post in here any links if you want to, and we'll put them in the show notes. But excited to see somebody starting something out and getting going with it, and look like it went well. How'd it go for you, Joe?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. You know, as I was telling you earlier, I realized it was my first time being in the coveted 8 to 9 p.m. slot on the U.S. East Coast. Kind of the top slot in the world for broadcasting. Of course, I'm joking because it's not television, but yeah, it was fun. I mean, I love Shizzy's personality. I love his desire to learn. I love just, you know, his constant need to absorb data. And Niblets always comes out with, you know, his very nuanced questions, and, you know, very good questions. And, you know, where it requires me to, like, you know, kind of synthesize a lot of streams into some kind of output to answer them. And so keeps me on my toes. I like that. I sort of felt like I was, you know, doing a White House press conference at times with Niblets. You know, he's like, well, you know, he's asking so many good questions, but just a good combo. I love those guys as a pair, and nice. Wish them the best of success.
He said, yeah, thank you. Niblets killed it. Joe was awesome. Niblets says it seemed to change market momentum. Yeah, I think you guys beat Wild Kingdom in the ratings yesterday. So that's
yeah. And what's the other one? Oh wait, what came after that show? The Wonderful World of Disney, I think was
Yeah.
the 8 o'clock Sunday
You know
night when
what?
we were kids.
That's
Yeah.
why to this day, the Disney song from that show depresses the hell out of me. Because every Sunday night, I looked forward to watching that, but it also meant I had to go back to fucking school the next day. And
Yeah.
so I was like bummed because I knew as soon as that show was over, I had to go to bed and go back to fucking school. And I was like, you know what? This is now every time I hear the song, I get this twinge of like, I got to go back to school anyway.
Yeah. It was the same thing. I remember like on the 3-day holidays, like, I can remember being a kid watching like the Indy 500, let's say, on a Sunday night and going, oh, that's right, no school tomorrow. And it was so, I mean, I just dreaded, I guess I had a good time, but,
My kids are completely social, love school, and both of them were so pissed off they had to get up this morning and go to school. Like,
yeah. What were they doing? Wait, is today, was yesterday they had to go,
today's Monday.
Today's Monday. Okay, got it. So, yeah, so their first day in school. Yeah, no, my daughter's there too. And, look, man, everybody's, over the holidays up north, everybody's sick. Okay. Not COVID sick, but, maybe COVID, I don't know, but flu, RSV, all that stuff. So, batten down the hatches when they get back today, because, luckily we have windows open and it's 65 outside right now. But, and most of our Palmetto's like open, Florida style open, where the classroom doors open to the outside and you walk down sort of, covered outdoor walking spaces. It's like that, right? It's not a big building.
It's a campus like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the way my daughter's is too. And so, classroom windows I think are open, but at least they get out into the halls to circulate. So it's not as bad for us in South Florida, but still, everybody who went skiing and stuff for the holidays and they come back, there's stuff spreading. So, try to be careful.
Yep, absolutely. I don't even know what the hell I have loaded up, Joe. Oh,
yeah, whatever it is, we'll be able to talk about it.
Crypto markets in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, look, this is sort of, a lot of people, we didn't have school here. We were on vacation still in South Florida, but up north, I noticed everybody was back in school last week. So, to me, it's almost like, I wonder if this is just people took stuff off the board for the holidays and now, people are back and now they're moving money back in.
Yeah,
into crypto, which it feels like it to me.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Like, everybody that tried to do the wash at the end of the year, maybe they didn't jump right back in on the first, so who knows? But yeah, that makes sense.
So what was the time on this article? Is this like just done in the last like hour or so?
Oh, I have no idea. It's January 9th is the only thing it says. It doesn't say a time.
Okay, so it would have, because everything started moving at about 4 p.m. last night, if I'm correct, or yesterday, 4 p.m. East Coast time, Sunday. I think that's where I saw the Bitcoin pop. And so when they say 28 billion in the last 24 hours, I bet most of that was in the last, what would it be, 16, 18 hours.
Looks like it started. It looks like it started flowing in. I don't know what this time zone is on this chart. Probably UTC. If that's the case, it started flowing in around 4 a.m. yesterday, all the way through, of course, last night and today. So
that's good.
It looks like he took this chart. Looks like he took this chart at 6 p.m. yesterday. Yeah. So that's even more so. It's interesting. Anyway, glad to see it. We'll take it. It's trading, it's activity. More people in is a good thing. We love it. So
and
let me see if I got
all
anything
good.
else. There was a I'm not going to go into this too much. Mycelium, which I had seen in the past but hadn't really looked at. Looks like it's a perpetual swaps market. Had a little glitch with their price feeds. Number one, Binance was blocking IP blocking, and then they had a glitch on another price feed that they had, so they were down to one price feed, and anyway, price feeds were off. I guess people got exploited based on, I guess they got exploited in some way based on it. I don't think it was anything major, but that's actually an ongoing problem that's going to be an issue. We talk about oracles and Chainlink and the way different projects do price feeds, mostly from centralized exchanges, are driving pricing in the rest of the DeFi market. And so it's going to be an ongoing issue. The guys at G-Trade, I think he said he has nine exchange feeds, a custom feed that he built with 9 different exchange feeds in it, so that there aren't massive jumps and hops around. But anyway, that was interesting. I had not looked at Mycelium. Of course, Mycelium, makes their strategic marketing mistake of doing a link tree to get to the website. But
I've had that. I downloaded that. They have a wallet too or something, and I downloaded it onto my phone years ago, and it's got like some BTC dust in it essentially at this point. I never use it. But, I looked at that article too, and I'm like, why only 2 price feeds? I mean, what about like the Trellers of the world, and all of those guys, the price oracles?
Yeah.
And why do they just use the sexes, right? They're using Coinbase and Binance. Was that right?
Binance, Coinbase, and Bitfinex. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Binance blocks them, so all they have is Coinbase and Bitfinex going. I mean, when you assume that Coinbase and Bitfinex are also pulling pricing from Binance too, on top of their own market pricing, that can get tricky fast. So
yeah, and they don't really talk about the fact that they're going to expand the feeds. They say, looking forward, the team will implement stronger monitoring of feeds, enhanced alerts, and faster communication to prevent incomplete or inaccurate statements being shared with the market that are not consistent with facts or lack critical and important information. It's like, dude, that should be like priority 1.
Yeah.
It's like, why is this not, why was that not a priority before? And like you said, Joe, why are you so limited in what you're getting data from? So,
anyway. I mean, not even Chainlink. No. I mean, that's the weird part to me, is that's the easy ad.
Yeah.
Treller's one that people will not all know about, and then have to kind of like look at and go, hey, what, try to figure it out. But the easy ad is Chainlink.
Yep.
And so I don't, that seems kind of weak from my perspective for
I agree.
Mycelium.
Trader Joe already had added themselves to Arbitrum, is now going on to BNB chain, which I found to be a really interesting choice. And Trader Joe, I need to dive deeper into it, but they've been doing a lot from what people I follow, some really innovative stuff on the chain on their platform. I can't speak to it because I haven't done enough research on it, but I see tweets here and there talking about what they're doing and how they're doing it. All original code. They're no longer just a fork. I just find that choice of going on to BNB chain pretty interesting. But if you think about it, we always talk about that's where the mass of retail traders lives. But yeah, just an interesting choice.
Well, BNB chain is Binance Smart Chain, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So that's the one that's supposed to be going fully decentralized, right?
Well, theoretically, it's going fully decentralized eventually. Right now, they
allegedly,
have a limited number of nodes. Secured.
Okay. So I remember when they first came on Avalanche, there was a lot of chat about them, and I used them a bunch over there because they were the only.
Well, they were.
The only DEX.
Yeah, they were the top DEX on Avalanche.
Yeah, and so a lot of people were talking it up when people were, I guess there was an airdrop at one point, and everybody who had been early, got rewarded. But, when I went there, I didn't really, DEX is, in a lot of ways, a DEX is a DEX is a DEX. And so to me, it was more like an Avalanche specific thing than any kind of cool, nothing, maybe there were, but I just didn't see it, but any like super cool features that were totally dramatically different.
No,
but they got a good brand.
Just a fork. Yeah.
Okay. So just a fork. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a great brand. Everybody likes them. Execution was fast. I never had any issues with them. And, them going to Arbitrum, was another big step up. So I think kind of going BNB chain, like you said, it adds the whole rest of the world. Yeah. And, kind of the microfinance retail out of the smaller or the markets where, a small amount of money goes a very, very long way.
Yeah.
So I could see a lot of people mining in liquidity pools and stuff on Trader Joe's with, pairs with $2 on each side, or, $2 equivalent on each side, or $3. It allows, access because it's cheap.
Yeah.
For everybody. So I think that's a good move. And then, the question I would think is, then it gets, maybe they provide a guideline or a pathway for all of those folk on BNB chain to then get exposed to Arbitrum and Avalanche in the other markets. So
look at this.
A good move.
December 2021, 2.54 billion TVL. Today, 82.18 million.
Yeah.
That's pretty astounding. Drop.
Yeah, a lot of, what were the big well, I know Blizzard Finance, that debacle was on Avalanche. But what else were we doing over there? Was that where I can't remember. Maybe there were a couple other like those rebasing plays or the Time Wonderland stuff or something were somehow involved in there. Because that's a huge amount of TVL back then.
Shizzy says cross-chain is only way to be successful. I think Spooky and Spirit need to copy that roadmap. I think Spirit's already going down that path. I think they had a vote for that. So I think they're headed down that road. I don't know where first, but that's definitely a path they're headed down.
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked Spirit. They're having the troubles like everybody else in the space, with TVL and things like that. And lack of volume, so no trading, very little trading fees, things like that. But they always have been the group that has put together a lot of quality product out there. And, I know you've interviewed them, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you do them? Yeah.
I've interviewed them twice. Know the guys pretty well. They're really good guys.
They're quality guys. Yeah. So that's why when I said the other day on the show, that's why if I buy Spirit, I just lock it in their vault for 3 years or whatever it is. Cause one, I don't want to deal with it. And they're either going to make it or they're not. And they're good guys who are smart, who seem to be executing. So I'll take that bet. But, that's just me and my personal decision. But this is the kind of thing, if I hear good people, those are the projects where I'll just be like, okay, do it and forget about it, basically, and not trade it. Because there's plenty of other stuff you can trade. But stuff like that, you just don't want to be like where you're trading 25 tokens. Because it's just insanity at that point.
Yeah.
But,
absolutely.
I've always liked these guys, and I own some of it too.
9.2 million TVL right now from a peak of 349 million, 373 million. Sorry. But look, I mean, that's market wide. That's not, that's pretty much the standard, what everyone has experienced market wide. So shouldn't be too surprising, really. Lido is still at the top with 6.62 billion TVL, so basically 6.62 billion staked ETH. MakerDAO at 6.48, Curve, Aave, Convex, WBTC, Just Lend. Haven't looked at Just Lend in a long time. That's Tron. I have never looked at Just Lend. I'm thinking of something else. 2.61 billion. That's probably 2.59 billion of that is Justin's money.
Yeah.
So Uniswap, PancakeSwap, Just Cryptos, also Tron, 2.07 billion. So anyway, let's see what else we got here today. This was a little interesting piece. This guy went through all of the kind of end of year thesis documents that all the firms create and everything, and picked out what he saw as the top 23 narratives. So ETH withdrawals, right? We have supposedly the Shanghai upgrade in March is going to enable ETH staking withdrawals, which could be a pretty tremendous event on if everybody starts dumping everything they've had staked. Who knows what people are going to do or not, but it's going to be interesting to see what the repercussions of that, whether people still hold, continue staking, or once they have the opportunity to withdraw, they dump everything. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's, look, if ETH for some reason is at $4,800 in March or when Shanghai happens, and I think you'll see a lot of dumping. But if ETH is at this range or near it? I don't think so. I think everybody kind of regards the 4 to 5 slot as where you trim on the way up if you're heading towards 10,000 or whatever you're heading toward. But I don't see a lot of dumping happening right away because I don't think anybody's in at a lower cost basis right now.
I don't either.
Or very few are.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
so there's
look,
no
there
point.
might be a mass dump from people that just are desperate for the cash right now. Like, you know, all of the people who are in trouble, all of the people who are on the edge of trouble, in terms of lending, banking, you know, funds, etc. Those folks may dump out. Shizzy says some people had ETH staked since November of 2020, and he thinks the price was around 650 to 750. So there may be some profit taking there. I think the widest bulk of it came last year, and you know it's still a great way to earn more ETH. And frankly, if what I have staked is the thesis behind that is I don't care. I'm waiting. I think ETH has a big move up later on, and so I just want to earn more of it while it's doing that. Right. So EIP 4844, it's an Ethereum upgrade that will reduce rollup fees by 10x to 100x. So that potentially unlocks a lot more scalability. Arbitrum as a rollup is winning users, but then he talks about what we talked about the other day, which is eigenlayer. So taking those Ethereum that you have staked and using them in other protocols. I think there's a lot of opportunity with this. I can't wait to see more about this when it gets closer to launch. Whether they'll have a token or not would be interesting too. What did Eamon say? If a huge amount of the staked ETH is in liquid staking like Lido, people who dumped already did it. Yeah, if they're in liquid staking, I would agree with you. But I think that there's probably a lot of people that have locked up staking as well from, you know, larger entities that may need the cash, but we'll see. ZK EVM, so Polygon has it, optimistic rollups, etc. ZK EVMs basically gives you better performance, better scalability, and you can use your existing contracts on it. We know that there's a lot of work going on there for it. This was interesting. Layer 3s. So layer 3s are basically application-specific chains built on L2s. You know, we've talked about app-specific chains from Avalanche and Binance and even Polygon. Anchor does some of that work for those projects, as well as, you know, Avalanche has a very simple way to do an app chain, an application-specific chain. This idea is that it's application-specific chains built on top of Ethereum L2s. So the idea is you have all this performance and capability in these L2s, the speed, and then you build another chain on top of that. So I guess Polygon would count in that mix. Another chain that's specific to your application on top of that works within the L2. So you still get the performance and low fees, and you don't have to leave the Ethereum ecosystem, I guess would be the idea.
So like when we talk stuff about genomics and things like that, you could theoretically have instead of it being a sub chain, it'd be like a functional specific chain above it in the hierarchy that would just run and be optimized to run that data.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot in the Avalanche has been focused really with their subchains on the GameFi world. Because of the extra processing power needed, the storage capability needed. A subchain makes sense for a game. A game is not necessarily something that has to interact and bridge back and forth between other aspects of blockchains out in the world. So it makes sense for it to kind of be an island. You know, bridging back and forth between the native layer 1 like Avalanche is easy, but then the GameFi has less of a need for that. This, I think, these layer 3s in the Ethereum ecosystem, layer 2s, makes a lot of sense because it gives you exposure for other types of applications as well. So
are there any plays that people are? I mean, are there any like players set up to be those layer 3s yet? Are there any names in that memo?
I don't think he got. Let me see when he gets into it.
Because I'd be kind of curious just to start taking a look at those. ZK Sync he has on a list too. All right, that's good.
He doesn't. He said many rollups.
I was wondering
technology for customizable L3s. Time will tell which one attracts the most apps. Which apps will become some server and chains. Per protocols like DYDX, Uniswap, etc. Something like G-Trade would be great on a layer 3 as well because it's all synthetic. So you don't give a shit about on-chain interaction with other tokens. You've got your token and DAI or whatever they're using. So that gives you the ability. Dan Olitzer talking about the inevitability of Uniswap having its own chain. But I don't think there's any notice about that happening. I think it's just speculation. But he doesn't give any specific examples of layer 3 app chains being built. And I haven't heard of any.
Okay.
So this is actually the first time I've really heard of this model for app chains.
Me too.
App chains on Polygon, app chains on Binance chain, and app chains on Avalanche. And the Polygon one is, I guess, essentially a layer 3 because it's on top of a layer 2 or a side chain. But it was never kind of referred to that way. Another thing he said is interesting is modular blockchains. So Celestia, et cetera, taking away some of the excess processing required, storage required, et cetera, and modularizing it for specific functionality. So being able to build for the functionality you need without having to have all the other shit mucking it up and slowing down performance. I haven't looked a lot at Celestia. I hear people talking about it every now and then. I don't think it's burning the house down yet, but it definitely has potential. Celestia, Polygon Avail, modular data availability. Polygon Avail is their database solution for high-speed database via blockchain, but I think it's outside of the actual chain. And then Fuel Labs, he calls modular execution layer. Omni-chain, so bridges and wrapped assets are vulnerable. We all know that. He says the future is omni-chain. He says with layer 0 technology, assets can be moved between chains without bridges. Greater security, more composability, new DeFi use cases. Haven't looked at layer 0 in a while, but essentially it allows for multiple chains in one protocol, and so the transfers happen like they would normally happen on an existing chain or between chains on an existing.
So we're still considering Cosmos layer 0, right?
I would say so. Yes, that's how I think of it.
Yeah. All right.
New DeFi primitives that they said that people are looking at. I keep seeing this under collateralized borrowing. Again, I think this is a tough nut to crack for DeFi. Because ultimately under collateralized borrowing requires some kind of reputation or credit scoring. And, so there has to be a system for doing that. There are folks in the fintech world that have done some really unique methodologies for qualifying borrowers in that regard. Using things like social media feeds, those kinds of things that being less reliant on credit reporting. But obviously you need a foot into the non-DeFi, non-crypto world in order to do that.
Quick question. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. It's all right.
Oh, no, I was just thinking, isn't it when we go and put something in a protocol and borrow 80% of the value? I mean, I would call that under collateralized lending because you can't do 1-for-1 collateral at a bank. They usually want 2 to 3 times asset coverage on a note.
Yeah, that's a very good point, dude.
So if you're getting it at 1.25 ratio of, collateral to, the collateral is 1.25 of the borrow, that is almost under collateralized. So
that's a good point.
I mean, are they really taking it down where you're putting up like no collateral and getting stuff?
I think they're taking it to those levels. I think that's the idea of under collateralized lending, or at least much lower levels. But I think it's doable. It just requires interaction with, other methods of qualifying people or companies for that. And I would probably go after the B2B space with that first. Because that's easier to quantify. You can quantify revenue, things like you and I have talked about before, being able to take over doing advances against future revenue, right? Invoices, credit card transactions and receipts, banking receipts. Those are all things that could allow you to score an under collateralized B2B loan and have some security for that under collateralized loan. If I were doing an under collateralized lending service, I would first probably target just a crypto-based one. I would probably first target the B2B space. I think you have a better shot.
Yeah. I wonder if you could use, those streaming payment providers as well. Like, if you're doing under collateralized lending, instead of giving the whole nut out at the front end when there's the most risk, you stream it out. So if they go bad, you cut off the stream. Somewhere along the way. I mean, that might have a play there too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could theoretically say, people that are doing crypto e-commerce online, you can track their track record, how much sales they do. You could then take a percentage of the stream coming out, set up a stream specifically for that for repay so that people feel safer about it. I mean, that's actually a great idea.
Could do it both ways, like disbursement. Yeah. Like who has time? I hear this. Anybody builds it, just cut us in for a little taste. That's all we ask.
There you go. Exactly. Let me see if there's anything else here. AI, hot trend, dude. It's like fucking everywhere now. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's selling classes around it. I've been playing with it quite a bit. I've had the OpenAI system generate some trading indicators for me that I've been kind of back testing and checking out. I find it does a pretty good job of generating code, but I spend a good amount of time coaching the shit out of it and redirecting it to where I really want it to be. But it's still fucking impressive that I can have an AI write code for me to do what I want it to do without knowing how to write that code myself. So that to me
is pretty trippy.
We're at the very beginnings of that capability, but it's already better than it's ever been. So,
well, I think you remember our buddy from San Diego or La Jolla area, Rick, that was involved in some of our projects a couple of years ago. His avatar thing with, it was around genomics, and basically, they were using some Hollywood technology that they used in a couple of those movies, like The Irishman and then the Will Smith, I think Gemini, where they basically have, I think, 36,000 cameras taking a 360 view of you.
Right.
And with genomic data, you can basically, the appearance is easy to predict from the data. I mean, it's like the easiest thing to do, like blonde hair, blue eyes, or brown hair, brown eyes, all, body shape, all of that's easy to do. But you see, you create these avatars that then you can run clinical trials on the digital you, basically. So when I see the AI stuff out, it makes me think about that it's such a cool linkage from there to that, because you can train it. I don't know if you saw with Chat GPT that they're in discussions for investment right now. And
$29 billion valuation
to start. Yeah.
I actually think that's low.
Yeah, but you don't want the first one to be, you don't want to push it up too high and then have them miss a target and then get gutted. I think, my own opinion, the first one, but the second round, that's over 100 billion, 200 billion, easy. Once they figure out the revenue model.
Well, look, I mean, they've already got. I'm going to be really curious to see, because I've given them $150. Because to buy extra credits and be able to do more on the developer coding side of it, you can do that. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how many people just paid up, even though most of the shit that they offer is for free right now. But what's going to happen, where this is going to make them real serious money, is the enterprise level integrations of this platform, right? If you're a corporation right now, looking at what that thing's capable of, from content creation to idea management to structuring internal documents to keeping track of and monitoring and finding things within your data and your organization, being able to deploy an engine like that into your company, it opens amazing doors for your operations and management, and it reduces overhead, right? I mean, it will provide incredible capabilities. Technical support, customer service, imagine that. Like, the chatbot is all AI based, and then you can even prompt your phone people with the correct answers much faster, right? So you increase satisfaction. I just think that there are all kinds of shit. They're going to make a bloody fucking fortune integrating with enterprise level capabilities. So
no, it's, I mean, I was looking at a company a few years ago, and I remember what they were doing is they were using facial rec, and they were using social media feeds to predict when employees would be in emotional distress. And they built up facial rec profiles, everybody coming through the lobby. and and then we're actually matching it against social on the company device, of course,
Yeah.
and then measuring outcomes. And so basically, if they found out someone had a death in the family or something like that, or went through some trauma, they were already on them before they even came to the office to like help and do things like that. It's all about reducing the people freaking out at the office and
Yep.
doing nasty stuff. And so you think about that, and you add in like an AI element to it, where they really could be predicting, and you could be throwing drones up over employees and stuff like that to make sure they're okay. There's all kinds of things that this leads to that helps protect the organization or protect the individual from other bad things. So,
well, if just the coding realm, take this: developer writes a series of code and then uses the AI to correct, fix, find bugs, revamp the code they wrote, right?
That's crazy. That's just crazy, man.
They need a function built, right? So they're in the middle of the massive amount of coding that they're doing. They need a function built. You go to the chat and let it build the function for you. You're going to have to tweak it, make some changes, whatever, reintegrate it, put it back in. And then the AI can go and say, hey, what other repercussions are there of adding this code to this system, right? So, I mean, developers will go from being top-notch developers to being top-notch developers on steroids. And then take this. Now you train the AI engine to monitor all your top developers in the world or the best developers on GitHub, right? So now the AI gets trained in how you code within your enterprise and learns the integrations in your system. And then you have it monitoring and looking for things constantly. How can we speed it up? How can we make it faster? How can we make the analysis better? I mean, and we're here right now. We're not, this is no longer what if, one of Andrew Yang's biggest things during his campaign was that there were going to be a mass loss of jobs because of automation. Primarily, he was talking about self-driving trucks, robotics, that kind of thing. Those things are all coming. Well, now we're going to be replacing marketing people,
developers,
replacing writers, we're going to be replacing musicians, we're going to be replacing graphic artists, we're going to be replacing developers, we're going to be replacing attorneys, we're going to be replacing doctors analyzing cancer screenings, we're going to be replacing all kinds of people at all levels of society, people that work at the fast food restaurant, people that answer the phones for customer service. This is going to dramatically reduce what we need from humans. So it's very interesting.
Well, I can't remember which fast food chain it is, but somebody just launched a pilot with like, personless stores, basically, where it's all robots and AI and that's it. And the food's coming out the window and people are driving through and picking it up. I can't remember which one it is, but I just wonder, what are all the people going to do at that point? I guess that's when they'll opt for the metaverse.
Well, I think that's when UBI becomes a reality. The people who win are the ones who go and get themselves trained on using these tools, right? And implementing them. But look, there's going to be a fundamental shift in how society functions, business functions. I mean, I always make this joke about what happens when the marketing AI is marketing to the buyer AI and the sales AI is selling to the buyer AI. I mean, when do we get to the point where that tips over and we go, oh, wait a minute, humans aren't doing this anymore, right? We're making decisions with AI about what our company needs to buy. And I don't know what that looks like, but it's going to get interesting. Speaking of,
it'll definitely get interesting. Yeah.
Somebody did a side project. I haven't tried this thing out at all. It's called EthUnwrapp. It gives you a year in view for 22. This could be totally anticlimactic, could be a complete wash, but supposedly it gives you a summary of what you did on Ethereum. I think he also has Polygon optimism, but what you did on chain over the year. So let's see if it's just a big list of fucking data or not. This is Sifu's, again, email address, my favorite email to test. Wallet address. So let's see what happens. Let's see what we get from Sifu when we do this. It says it may turn out that the truck drivers are the only ones who don't get disrupted, judging by how self-driving is working out. Yeah. Relativity Space is launching a rocket that is 100% 3D printed. As a machinist, I was shocked to my core. The first launch is 2 weeks. That's fucking unbelievable, dude. I hadn't even
Relativity Space. Yeah, me either. Remember that.
Well, Sifu crashed their system. Says the function has crashed. So I don't know if it's going to work out or not. We'll give him one more shot and see if it works.
So you put in a wallet address, or you put in a handle?
You put in a wallet address.
Okay.
It sees that it's Sifu. Let's see if it crashes again. If it does, we'll move on. It's probably too much data for it. Oh, wait a minute. Download summary image. Okay, here. Oh, it creates a little video. 2,999 transactions this year. But
In January?
Transactions reverted.
Wow.
We spent 37.363 ETH in transaction fees. This is Sifu, by the way. And that is equal to $50,111. Deployed 0 contracts, of course. Although he did deploy contracts, just not through his wallet. And at the start of the year, he held 6.92 ETH. He now holds 71.433 ETH. That is an
so this is from January 1 to now.
Yeah.
This is the last 9 days.
931% increase. That's cute.
Nice moving some stuff around from wallets to wallets. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Koreans will love that.
Andre Cronje on the Phantom forum opened up an infinite AMA, and he's just answering questions from anybody about anything about Phantom, which is really a kind of an interesting thing to watch. I started going through some of these. He's talking about, people are asking him when the FVM is going to be released. He said they're not giving any dates because that's their most significant competitive edge against all chains. So they're not talking specific dates nor talking specific tech within it, but once they release it, they will. There was a question about Harry Yee. Where's this one guy asked these questions, basically kind of ethics level questions. He says, first he asked him why he worked with Daniel Sestagali, because he basically was a crook, he's saying. He said, why he left solidly, and then why he has a relationship with Harry Yee. And he responded, Danielle had managed to build what I consider a strong community, having a few chats with him, yada, yada. He decided to go into business with him. With solidly, he thought he had communicated 2 things. He said he should have emphasized it more, that it was completely immutable after he deployed it. I could not even, if I wanted to, update it. So, radically decentralized. So there couldn't be any changes or improvements. And he said, number 2, that a user could manipulate the system to their own benefit, but then they would be shooting themselves in the foot, since they would have to amass a large position of solid, costing them a large amount of money. And then by benefiting themselves, they would end up devaluing their own position. I didn't think any rational person would do this, but clearly I was wrong, as both Beebus and Roosh ended up doing this, depreciating the platform. So this is cool, though. He says, I don't have a relationship with Harry Yee. I've only met him at the Abu Dhabi Phantom conference, but I've always made it clear that Harry is not part of the foundation, nor is he a core contributor. And then somebody asked him about an L2, Harry Yee launching an L2. He basically said, L2s are useless on Phantom. We have the performance. There's 0 need for a L2 on Phantom. Just
good point.
There's no need for it. He said maybe later, if it blows up anyway. That somebody asked him about the new Solidly, what he thinks about it. But anyway, this is actually a really impressive thing that he's doing. He seems to be answering every question that gets posted. So I haven't gone through the whole thing, just through the first few questions, but it's impressive. I'll put the link in the show notes if anybody wants to pop in and ask him a question, or have any other thoughts or ideas for Phantom. But anyway, I like it. I like what they're doing. So
yeah, no, I mean, we saw Phantom I think it was back up around 25 cents earlier this morning, and Spirit's up 21% right now. So obviously people are reacting to that favorably.
Yeah. DeFi Llama updated their Llama Swap UI, made it clear what the routes and how the routes are decided, and some other things. Just a quick notification to everybody. Made it easier to use, essentially. See if there's anything else urgent before we... Oh, DYAD is now, version 5 is live on testnet. So you guys can try it out at dyadstable.xyz. This is the NFT-based stablecoin with an entire game-based metric. Check out my interview with the founder on missiondefi.com. Let's see what else. Ethereum roadmap for quarter 1. And this, I'll put this link in here as a guide for newcomers to Phantom, which I thought was actually pretty cool. I don't have anything else significant, Joe, today. You got anything?
No, I mean, look, everything's up. So, we don't know why at this point, other than maybe the Phantom.
There.
Yeah. So, pay attention. If you are up a bunch, consider, not financial advice, but, I always say if you're, up some, trim those sales a little bit, take a little off the top if you can. That way you don't ever ride it up and down completely.
Yeah.
You're still probably going to ride it down eventually, but you want to make sure you take it when you can.
Absolutely.
So I say pay attention to that. I think we got some big economic news this week coming out. It's a new year. Everybody should be optimistic. I think we're going to have a good one this year. So be patient and be smart.
Thank you, Eamon, Niblitz, and Shizzy for participating today. Really appreciate you guys adding to the conversation as always. Great chats, great talk. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us. It really helps boost us. It only takes a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes, and it would be of great help to all of us. So if you haven't done that yet, you're listening on the podcast, please just pause for a second, go to Apple Podcasts, load it up, search for DeFi Lunch or Mission DeFi, and rate and review the podcast. It would be a big help to us. If you're listening on YouTube, please smash that thumbs up button. Make sure you click subscribe and click the alerts bell so you get notified when new episodes coming out. Joe and I are here Monday through Friday at noon Eastern time. And I randomly release long form interview episodes of Mission DeFi. We've got a few queued up here coming this week and next. That's all I got today, Joe. Hope you have a great day, man. Everybody have a great day. We love and appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to answer Niblett's question real quick. Yeah, and even if it's one you're really trying to stack for the long haul, then maybe you don't want to trim. But I sometimes still do a little bit anyhow. But that's the call. It's trade it or hold it. So
yeah, exactly.
Personal
I'm
decision.
not selling any Canto right now.
No.
But other things that I've earned some on, I'm taking some profits and holding it because I have done the write it down thing before.
It's never fun.
It's no fun. Yeah.
So
how much
get
you
a little
watch that chart, you're never going to be able to predict.
Yeah. So keep some powder dry as best you can. Now, a lot of us are sitting, holding right now, waiting for a rally, unless we want to commit more money.